To make me jealous, my husband brings home a different woman every night and spends the night with them, then orders his men to get rid of them the next morning. This morning was no exception. I stood outside my husband, Bayram's, room, listening to the sounds coming from between the cracks in the door, and bitterly smiled to myself. This was nothing new to me, but I still felt sadness at this situation. When I came back to my senses, his room door suddenly opened. He stared at me intently. I immediately looked away and continued walking. Before I could go far, I heard him summon his men and ask them to take the woman he had spent the night with away. I laughed softly as I walked down the stairs. Yes, hearing him give such an order was nothing new to me. After all, he is a ruthless mafia boss, and I, Jazz Zamora, am his wife. In the kitchen, I sat down to eat, the maid standing by ready to serve, the armed men hovering around the house, a constant reminder of who Bayram was. Get ready. My husband's voice caught my attention. I turned around and saw him walking towards my seat. Why? I asked lazily. He sat down in the chair next to me and started eating his food. Today is my parents' anniversary. They're throwing a costume party and want us to come, he said matter-of-factly, and then started eating. I just nodded and followed him quietly, as we always did when we were together. Even though we were both married, we acted like strangers towards each other. I'll bring your dress up later. Bayram looked at me while wiping his mouth. I nodded perfunctorily and drank some water. He was about to stand up when I spoke, leaning lazily back in my chair. Are we going to pretend to be a happy couple again? I asked sarcastically. He didn't answer, but instead said, we're leaving at 11 p.m., and left me alone in the kitchen. I pretended to smile and shook my head. I wish there were always parties, I whispered to myself, because I thought that was the only place he would be nice to me. The ball was as extravagant as expected, and I confidently walked down the stairs in a gold halter-neck dress with silver heels. Waiting for me downstairs was Bayram, who stared at me so intently that if I didn't know any better, I'd think he was captivated. When I finally stood in front of him, I cleared my throat. Let's go, I said, but he took my arm instead. I flinched, he moved closer, and I held my breath. What was he doing? I stiffened, and then I felt something cool against my heart. A necklace. I blinked a few times, staring at it in disbelief. Bayram moved away from me a little, looking at me expressionlessly. What is this? His eyebrows were knitted together, and he glanced at the necklace I had just put on. You don't know what this is? He asked sarcastically. My nervousness from earlier gradually disappeared. I rolled my eyes at him and stared at the necklace again.
Okay.